Hello MBA aspirants, in this clip we shall talk about 5 tips for handling a case study. Number 1, understand the challenge. A case study, just like a group discussion, is designed to assess certain group performance skills of the individual. The difference stems from the fact that a case study tests a larger and slightly different skill set as compared to a normal group discussion. Number 2, skills under the scanner. What all skills are being assessed through a case discussion? Number 1, analytical skills. The core competence of an MBA is analysis of the situation, breaking down data, formulating it into a pattern that makes sense, and deriving a sensible conclusion or recommendation. You should display the skill through efficient, targeted, and accurate piecing together of the data while wrestling the group towards a solution to the case. After self-analysis, you should clearly and logically present the findings and recommendations for the group to discuss further. So all this requires some kind of an analytical approach. Quantitative skills. Some case studies involve working with numbers to reach an effective solution, and this you will typically find in cases which are revolving around finance and ratio analysis. In that situation, a quick calculation on a rough sheet to present the relevant figures for the group will make you stand in a very good light with the evaluator. Flexibility. This refers to the ability of the candidate to consider the opposing point of view in light of the facts, figures presented in the case. There is no single solution to the case, and thus a flexible candidate should not leave out good options in his analysis, even if they were presented with an opposing point of view. Leadership skills. Leadership is demonstrated by taking charge of the discussion and trying to achieve a consensus solution. This consensus solution need not be the best one according to you. Instead, it should aim to incorporate all viewpoints. Then, of course, we have communication skills, your verbal and non-verbal communication skills. Whereas your verbal skills will probably measure your fluency, articulation, and modulation, your non-verbal skills will be more about your body language and your overall conduct. Goal orientation, this would assess whether you as a group were able to accomplish the goal or not. It is not giving the solution, but moving towards the solution. Group dynamics, this is the way you operated as a group. So were you able to accommodate the viewpoints of different people or not? Was there a logical progression in the discussion, or was it random hip-hopping from one individual to another? Confidence, of course, this is key to any kind of discussion. You have to be confident while presenting your viewpoint and being a member of a group. Time management, you are given a certain time frame in which you have to accomplish the discussion. So you have to keep the clock in mind and move accordingly. Tip number 3, situation context analysis. The first step in a case analysis is to go over the case line by line and jot down the relevant points, facts, and figures. The aim of this exercise is to capture the crux of the case in brief, and this has to be done at the beginning, at the start. You should be able to note down the main points of the case and try to analyze what you have to discuss subsequently. Both the internal as well as the external factors relevant to the organization should be elucidated. This analysis provides a shape for things to come in further analysis. The factors external to the organization comprise things like level of competition, market share, raw material prices, tight labor market conditions, price cutting, customer preferences, etc. And the factors internal to the organization comprise mainly of its labor policies, dispute redressal systems, project approval schemes, marketing strategy, capacity expansions, etc. So it depends on the environment which you are scanning. Whereas the external environment would talk about the external communities, the ones which are outside the organization. The internal environment would talk about the internal challenges and constraints which that particular case is posing. So you have to do a very comprehensive kind of analysis of the environment. Tip number 4, the PACER format for case analysis. Now, there is no one way in which you can analyze a case. So it is only a helping tool. This gives you some kind of a method to the whole process, and it is very simple to remember, PACER. So this gives you a sequential approach to solving the case. If you remember these 5 dimensions, PACER, you'll be able to solve the case or approach the case in a more comprehensive and inclusive manner. So let's see what exactly is meant by the PACER approach, starting with the P first, which is problem definition. The problem should ideally be defined in a crisp single line, incorporating the most important decision issue to be solved in the case. Now, this is very important, please. Most of the case discussions, they go awry, they go off the handle because the problem was not defined correctly. Let me give you an example. Say you are the MD of an organization and you recruit Vice President Works for a manufacturing setup. The VP Works, he is on the shop floor day 1 and a worker comes across and slaps him. What should you do as the MD of the organization? Now, the problem is not that the VP Works got slapped by the worker. The problem could be much more. You have to delve deeper and try to bring out the whole set of problems which can possibly be responsible for this kind of a behavior. So the worker slapping the VP Works is a behavioral issue, right? But when you talk about a problem, it is not exactly a problem. This is the effect of the problem. The cause has to be understood. So obviously the problem could be in terms of the labor management conflict. So that is the problem. The problem is not the person being slapped. So you have to define the problem in a certain way, and your ability to define the problem in a concise manner will probably talk about your objectivity and your approach to solve the case. It helps to be quantitative at this stage to have a better grasp of the problem. An important thing to remember is not to mistake the symptoms for the root problem. For example, a falling market share or a decline in sales is invariably a symptom, while the real problem may lie with the nature of the industry or the quality of the product. A stands for alternatives generation. The next step is to list down the various alternatives to resolve the problem and achieve the objectives set out in the case study. An alternative is an effort to solve the problem. It's a probable solution but not the solution. So at this stage, all the alternatives that come to mind should be listed, even if an alternative provides only a part solution to the problem at hand. So this is the stage where you have to diverge in terms of idea generation, keeping in mind how the alternative would provide some kind of a solution to the problem at hand. C, criteria for evaluation of alternatives. List down the parameters that are important to the solution of the problem at hand. These parameters can be profitability, growth in market share, image, sales, etc., depending upon the problem at hand. Remember, the problem can be set against different backgrounds. It may be a marketing problem, it may be a finance problem, it may be a human resource management problem, it may be a general management problem, it may be an IT issue. So the case will present some kind of a situational crisis in which you have to take a decision depending upon which function of management is being targeted. Next is E, evaluate the alternatives. This stage uses the criteria to evaluate the various alternatives generated earlier. The positive and negative aspects of each alternative are to be kept in mind while evaluating the alternatives. So we look at the pluses, we look at the minuses, and we see which alternative is moving closer towards the solution. And finally, we have R, which is recommendations. At the end of the analysis, provide recommendations to resolve the situation. Also look at short-term as well as long-term implications of the recommendations in solving the problem. It is possible that a particular solution is a quick fix solution, but that may not stand the test of time, and it may not have the sustainability angle to it. So the sustainability angle is very important. The solution has to be sustained over a period of time so that a long-term perspective is being looked at. The fifth tip, things not to do. Do not jump to a conclusion at the start. We have seen in so many case discussions, students immediately talking about the solutions. This is being very impulsive and not really appreciated. There's nothing called right or wrong. Please remember that. The panel is not looking at your ability to pass a verdict. The panel is not even looking at your ability to give a quick solution. The panel is looking at your ability to assess the situation, to look at the environment in a certain way, to talk about the various the stakeholders in the case and see how you can discuss each of these stakeholders and then talk about the constraints and the approach which you possibly take to solve the case, and finally, based on this kind of an analysis and discussion, what you finally recommend and propose. So it's a continuous process which is being evaluated and not just the way you arrive at a solution. Worry about speaking all the time. Please do not do that. There are students who are constantly looking for that moment of truth where they can jump into the discussion and contribute all the while. This is not possible. Remember that if the discussion time is 10 minutes and there are 10 students, on an average you will get 1 minute. So your moment of truth is not speaking all this while. Your moment of truth is what value you add when you speak. Worry about not having specific industry knowledge. There are people who get very judgmental. They feel that they have lesser work experience as compared to other counterparts, or they haven't worked in a particular setup and the case is constructed against that setup, so they are not competent. So even before the discussion starts, they switch themselves off. This should not happen. Remember that if you have been shortlisted, if you have reached this far, the panel has some kind of a faith in your profile. So be positive, and if you think that you have less data or less facts and figures or less content for discussion, then wait for a while, listen to what others have to say, and then you can always collect that and build up on the case accordingly. Worry if you are not able to completely solve the case. Remember, the structure of thoughts is as important as the final result. It is not the solution. Once again, please let me tell you very clearly, the case study does not warrant for a solution. It warrants for an approach. It is looking for your ability to reach the solution and not state the solution. So the overall, the evolution is more important than the arrival. We hope that these 5 points will help you to participate better in case discussions and do well. Best wishes.